Hello YouTube, this is Insane Monster and happy Halloween. Now that, as you know, this is part of the Halloween special. As for what if this is the beginning part of what if Deku was a nergal demon. As for what that means and what it is, I'll leave some links in the descriptions below and such to the webcomic that this is based off of, as well as a kind of collage picture that should show you the general idea, powers, and such. So, with that being said, I hope that you will enjoy this what if on this All Hallows Day. So, let's begin. Now then, before we get to the main timeline, or at least in the era where Izuku is born and such, let's start off with a little background history. Now then, Nergal demons are demons that have an array of abilities. They can have the ability to produce these tendril looking things that morph and change. They become blades, claws, fangs, shields, armor, whatever the user can think of, even morphing into clothing of any color and such. So, in its more base form, the colors that are used would be black, green, and red, as seen in the thumbnail. Now then, if you don't know who Nergal is or what the powers were going to be, like I said, look in the description down below to a web comic series and such. However, I will state that the Nergal demons do have a unique ability. As they die, they can remove their right eye and give it to somebody, which not only transfers their power, but their memories, experiences, and their feelings. Essentially, it's giving a part of their soul to them, not just their powers. Doing this process is normally done whenever the Nergal demon is dying. However, the descendants of Nergal Jr. happened to end up on Earth a while before quirks became the norm. As they lived, every now and then they would be hunted down by people thinking that they can gain their powers through killing them and taking their right eyes. This, of course, didn't work. However, due to these things, a decision was made that the process of power transference would be modified to have a second condition that would allow the powers and the eye to be preserved while waiting for a future host to take on the power. So, it was decided that this add-on would be made, where only a blood relative of the Nergal demon dying would be capable of removing their right eye while chanting a demonic chant, in demon language, basically, that would allow the transfer of the eye. But instead of transferring it to a host, it allows them to place it in a kind of container filled with green liquid, which is essentially liquid demon energy, to help preserve the eye and such. By doing this, their family members can hold on to it until a suitable host can be found for that eye, one that the family can trust, aka most likely their descendants. as time went on, we get to the point where we see Inko, a current Nergal demon in the Age of Quirks. As for how the Nergal demon powers and quirks react to one another is quite unique. Due to the power of the Nergal demon, Inko's telekinesis has gained a good power up, able to move large, heavy objects like a number of cars, but not to do anything too crazy, mind you. So, yeah. And, like I said before, she's able to create whatever weapons he desires, whether it be melee, long ranged, or such, medieval style, or even blaster style. So the Nergal demon powers comes in handy, including the ability to fly by producing wings and such. So yeah, as she grew up, she went to hero school and actually became a hero, and picking the name Demoness. She thought it was a good combination, or at least it sounded to her like a combination of demon and baroness, which she kind of liked the sound of it. As time went on, she met Hasashi. If you're wondering how the power of the Nergal demons are so strong, it's just how it is. Even with the blood being mixed with humans over generations, the Nergal demon powers are still strikingly strong. So, yes, he became a hero and married Hisashi, who then they had their son, Izuku. Though Izuku was born a little different than in canon, his eyes. It was a rarity among Nergal demons where the white and the actual color of the eyes were like bright neon green. His eyes also had a slit pupil, kind of like a cat, as the surrounding portion where the iris would be, which is basically the color of the eye, is just a darkened circle around the cat-like pupil. So, as Izuku grew up, kids would always stare at him because of his eyes. And he was a bit young for his Nergal powers to awaken right now. But soon after Bakugo gained his quirk, Izuku gained his quirk as well as his Nergal demon powers. As a combination of the telepathy and the fire breathing, he ended up with pyrokinesis, though this was also influenced by his Nergal demon powers as well, causing the flames to be green. He could produce it from both of his hands and control it, or he could even breathe it out. He only gained the fire portion at the moment, though. Though he has realized that it feels like something's going on inside of him, something he doesn't understand. So, as some time goes on, Bakugo and his friends are actually picking on a girl, remarking and teasing her for how she looks, even pulling on one of her horns, as Deku gets in between them, telling them to stop. As Bakugo remarks, "Are you really trying to stop me, Deku? I mean, come on. You got some weird fire quirk. I actually have a proper and powerful quirk." At this moment, since his Nergal demon powers aren't fully awakened, his flames aren't at where they should be with the power awakened. As him as Bakugo and his friends go to try and attack Deku, he puts up his guard as these dark tendrils shoot out that have a black and red look, but also seem to have some green claws and eyes. They shoot out from his back, forming some clawed hands, though not clawing the boys, but grabbing them by the torso, lifting them up in the air, as they freak out, trying to figure out what's happening. And as Dooku is looking at what's happening, he hears a voice stating, "Finally, awake." Nergal demons' powers tend to have their own mind separate from their users. At least that's from the webcomic and such. So yeah, as Bakugo yells out, "You're some kind of monster, a demon, you're just gonna end up a villain." Bakugo is and the other kids are too obsessed with All Might to really know or pay attention to realize that Deku, that Deku's mom is also a hero in this what if. And he doesn't really brag about it, so yeah. Which does get Deku upset as he just drops the boys. The eyes on the tendrils look at Deku, worried about him, thinking that perhaps it's best to leave. As a fourth tendril shoots out, and the hands turned into blades, turning and converting into like four spider leg like things. Deku doesn't understand what's happening, but now he's being carried away by his own power that he hasn't seen before. As for the girl they were picking on, while they were distracted and freaking out at what just happened, she was able to slip away from Bakugo and his goons. So yeah, as Izuku is just sitting up in a tree, and a tendril pops out with an eyeball, and he hears a voice talking to him. And they talk back and forth. As time goes on, like a minute or so, he then blinks, and for some reason, he's in a void. As there's a tendril or some kind of beast that looks similar to the tendrils that were shooting out, at least the same color scheme and similar design function. Though the form shifted a little bit. Next thing he heard was someone state, "It looks as though your power hasn't taken on the definite form yet." Not surprising considering it just awoke. Plus, you're still developing, so it hasn't taken a proper form in the mindscape yet. He looks back and sees a man with green eyes, black skin, some claws on or nails, as well as some sharp teeth. He looks at him, asking, "Who are you?" As this man states, "Oh, how rude of me. My name is Nergal. Nergal, the original Nergal, you could say." Point, but I suppose you weren't told, were you? To be frank, each Nergal demon has what you would call a form of genetic memory. Memories from past users of this kind of power, well, of the Nergal demon lineage, have memories of their ancestors, though in many cases it tends to be just images and such, nothing really too defined, except for me. Since I am considered the original Nergal, in this case, I can take form in the mindscape of any Nergal demon. So, you finally awoken your true power, as he smirks, kneeling down at the boy, asking what's his name. Izuku states that his name is Izuku Midoriya and asked if his mom's the same as him, since she has that kind of power too. Nergal smirked, saying, "Of course she does. And of course she is." Despite how diluted the demon blood is from human blood being mixed in, the power is still strong, and that will never change. Though I suppose when you get back home, your mother will be having a talk with you to tell you everything. Deku's a little nervous about what this means, as he looks back as the whatever it is he's looking at still hasn't taken a proper form, and asks, "What is that then?" Nergal states that it's his Nergal demon power. It hasn't taken a proper form in the mindscape like I stated, remember? Essentially, the powers of a Nergal demon have their own form of consciousness, at least those who aren't pure Nergal, like yours truly. As he goes on to state that it will be like a co-pilot or backup to help him stay alive. As for anything else, he'll leave that to his mother to tell him. Next thing Izuku knows, as he opens his eyes from blinking again, he's back where he was, sitting in a tree that the tendrils brought him to. As then he just sees a hand waving in front of his face as a pink skinned and haired girl with horns states, "Hey, are you listening? You've been zoning out for a while." He looks over and sees a girl who's holding on to the tree from little gaps made in it from looks like it was burnt through. He says, yeah, who are you?" She says her name is Mina Ashido, asking who he was, as well as thanking him for helping her out. He says it no problem. I'm Izuku Midoriya. As he smirks, asking if they could play. He says sure. As he stands up on the branch, wondering how he's going to get down, he hears the voice again, stating, "Don't worry, I can get the both of you down safe. Just focus on something like wings." As he thinks, remembering what the tendrils looked like, he couldn't help but think of dragon or bat wings, though those were the kind of wings that came out of his back, as he used them to fly, grabbing Mina and flying them down. Mina looked back, looking at a Zuko who is still wrapping his head around what he can do. He just looks in awe, stating, "That was awesome! What else can you do?" Uh, Zuko just looks nervously at her, saying, "I don't know. This only happened today. I never actually used anything like this before." As she's just excited, asking what else he can do, as then he produces flames from his green flames from his hands as well as breathing it from his mouth, which she's really excited about seeing, as he takes him by the hand to go play. Afterwards, we see Deku at his house calling his mom, asking him, well, asking her what's going on. He sighs and states, looks like you finally awoken," as he takes him into his bedroom and describe everything he can do. That these tendril things can become whatever he wants. The more detailed the image that you put into it, the less they will look like what they do now. So they can even take a form of changing skin pigment, sort of like wearing a mask and such. Though in combat, they mostly just take the form of what you see, having a couple of eyes, green fangs and claws and such. That is their more common state. As Izuku is kind of understanding it as he remarks that he met somebody called Nergal. As Inko's shook her head saying, that is actually our ancestor, the one who we inherit our powers from. Though I should also remark something about our powers. It can be transferred. Izuku looks at her, asking, what do you mean? She tells him about the process about removing his right eye on his deathbed to give it to somebody else in order for the power to be transferred. However, due to certain events which she didn't like talking about, so she didn't go into detail, a secondary condition was met, remarking that on their deathbed, a family member of theirs, someone of their bloodline, could remove their eye and then place it in a container to be stored, so that a future member of their bloodline could take that eye, use the demon language chant in order to do a transfer of power. As Zuko's surprised by that, never hearing about anything like transferring somebody's power to another. Hinko just smirks, looking at her son, saying that it isn't very common, and very few people have ever learned this about our family. So be careful about who you tell. As Nanazuku then states that he actually helped save somebody today. He asked who it was, as he tells her about Mina and such. With Inko telling her son he did a good job, but he has to be careful not to hurt anybody. These powers can be powerful. However, even though they're powerful, that doesn't mean that we're invincible. Even a more defensive ability of our power has its limits, so it can still be pierced through. We aren't invincible, even though we are strong. Remember that. Izuku looks at his mom, saying, okay, I think I get it. As time progresses, Izuku plays with Mina more and ends up meeting another friend of hers, Kaminari, and they play together. During this time, Mina and Kaminari learn that Izuku's mom is actually a demoness, one of the heroes of the more, let's say, I guess, gothic kind of crowd. Though even those who aren't goths still think that she's a pretty cool hero and powerful, to say the least. So yeah, we get to the point where they are in the first year of middle school. Things are going well, as Bakugo doesn't really mock Deku about being the villain or anything like that, because he already knows that his mom's a hero now, since after that whole thing at the park and such. So yeah, and he kind of dropped the Deku thing, just calling him D. Though this time he called him D for demon, considering how the power kind of looks. However, the power in general is actually something more that they kind of classified to keep a more low key as a quirk called Lovecraft. Different forms of Lovecraft. With Izuku's mother, it's referred to as Lovecraft telepath. For Izuku, it's called Lovecraft Blaze. Now, for a little info into the difference of this universe, after some in between some time, Izuku ended up getting a little sister. Yes, her name is Imari, and she's about old enough to have awakened her quirk and nergal demon powers. From their dad's side of the family, there was a lightning or electricity user, as Imari's nergal demon powers influenced it to make green lightning. Unfortunately, a problem with Asashi's health has happened, causing him to die. So it's just Izuku, his mom Inko, and his little sister Imari. Every now and then, like, we have Inko going using night work mostly to help take care of her kids during the day. So yeah. As for nighttime, she actually befriends some other heroes and such that actually give her a hand. They're heroes that do respect her, as well as also female. This happens to be Ryuko, the dragon hero, Miriko, the rabbit hero, as well, as they are friends, and she does appreciate their help watching her kids while she goes off doing nocturnal hero work. So there is that. But back to the main story timeline, we get to the point where, like I said, they're in their first year of middle school. As Izuku and Mina are walking back from school, something happens as they walk through the way in front of a bank. A man busts through, grabbing Mina as he carries a large bag, and jumps away, stating that if anybody follows him, he'll kill this girl. Izuku is pissed and is not having this as he sprouts his wings. Nowadays, he's been thinking of using his wings to form two sets, thinking it looks cooler and feels better flying like this. A set of demon wings on the bottom part. As for the top set of wings, they're formed to create red feather looking wings, though they aren't actual feathers, but appearances. And he soars after them, keeping a low altitude to hopefully stay away from the man's sight. This man is blonde, big, and produces muscle mass on the inside of his body as well as the outside. Yep, it's muscular. As he lands thinking he got away, he thinks that this girl isn't much use to him anymore, and figures that he should probably just kill her. As he goes grabbing her, getting ready to punch her dead on in the head to kill her, Izuku blitzes forwards, creating a little pack on his back to fire using like a jetpack. And yes, if he can make a blaster, he could make this too. So yeah, and grabs Mina. Unfortunately, though, the punch still skims Mina, destroying her right eye. As he gets her away, he figures deal with that guy can be dealt with by the heroes, and he hurries up getting Mina to the hospital. As they get to the hospital and Mina is treated, they couldn't save her eye, and she's bandaged up. As Deku sits next to the hospital bed and she wakes up, she states, "You're here." As he smiles and says, "Thanks for saving me again." As Izuku hands bleeding. He's gripping his fist so hard that he's actually digging his nails into the palm of his hand, stating, "I should have got to you sooner." He says, "It's fine. I'm just glad you were there," as he smirks. When he went home, Inko heard about what happened and hugged him, asking what happened, and he told her, which then she saw Izuku's hand dripping blood, and bandages it up for him. As she asked, "If that man was in front of you right now, what would you do?" He stated that he would just throw him around, make him answer for what he did. He wouldn't stoop to his level and just cause enough bodily harm to cripple him or anything like that, but he would bring him to be locked away forever. So he couldn't do anything else to her. The wording he used caught Inko's eye as he goes into her room, pulling out a locked chest. Now, this thing was heavily locked. The whole thing, chains, straps, everything. As she undid it in front of Izuku, opening the chest, revealing multiple vials, each one holding an eye. He states, "You know what this is, don't you?" He says, "Our ancestors' eyes, the ones who are hunted down and killed." He states, "Yes, they are." Izuku learned about the hunting that people did that didn't really work out the way that they wanted it to be, since they nergal demons wouldn't give their power to the person who killed them or hunted them down and such, and they went at them with some pretty serious firepower and numbers. So yeah, as Beast then takes one, giving it to Izuku, telling him, "Tell her what you are, what we are. If she still accepts us, give her this eye." He grabs it, looking at it first, and his mom, saying, "Are you serious?" He smiles and says, "I can accept you for who you are, then she is one of the best people that you might be able to find." As he runs out going there, then we see little Amari popping out asking what exactly is going to happen to her if she does get that eye. With Inko looking at her little girl stating, "That's going to be a surprise." As Amari doesn't know the whole story about the eye transfer thing. So he gets there and decides to sit down for a minute, looking at Mina, with Mina asking, "Heck already? And what's the rush? You look out of breath." He says, "There's something I have to tell you." He says, "Okay," as he describes what he is. He doesn't have a dual quirk like Mina thought. The flames are a part of his quirk, but they're enhanced by something else. His demon powers, as he remarks what exactly this is. The tendrils and such, making all kinds of weapons and wings and additional body parts. She looks at him with a blank face, kind of thinking for a minute, as he says, "Okay, so what about it?" Zuko's shocked by this, as he wonders, "You're not surprised? You don't think I'm lying? You, you, you aren't telling me to get out?" He states, "Look, man, you never really been one to lie, and you never been one to really come up with something this crazy on your own. So yeah, plus, I know I can trust you." As Izuku takes in a deep breath, just starts laughing a little bit in relief. He takes out the canister, remarking about it is. He states, "Wait, you're giving me a new eye? Wait, don't you need surgery for that?" Deku looks at her, stating, "It's I'm a I'm part demon. Do you really think surgery is going to be needed? I mean, come on. This isn't science. This isn't actually science. This is, I guess, uh, demonology, or whatever you want to call it." As he then just says, "Okay." As he takes out the eye, lifts up her band-aids, and places it in. Afterwards, she just gets a blank stare for a moment as she goes into the mental realm, meeting Nergal, who introduces himself as well as states what's going on. The eye that was given to her was one of a teenage girl who was hunted down a long, long time ago, as Nergal is visibly displeased about how she ended up. Mina patted him on the shoulder, saying, "It's okay." Nergal smiled, looking at her, saying, "You are interesting. Given your appearance, one could think that you might be a demon yourself, in some respects. But no, you're human. My, these quirks are quite interesting. They can change a human's appearance so drastically." As he just states, Okay, yeah, yeah." He gets a little weirded out by this, with Nergal being so intrigued, as he states, gesturing, "Take a look. Her memories, her experiences, and her feelings." Mina sees it all: the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. And as she comes to, she breathes a bit heavily, remarking that that was really intense. As Izuku undoes the bandages, showing that she does have a scar now, where over her right eye, as well as now instead of a yellow or golden color eye, it's silver or gray. But it seems as though her body had a reaction to the eye, making the eye that was implanted with the white of it turning black, same as her original one. Afterwards, the doctors came in wondering what happened. They couldn't really explain it, but Mina wasn't going to let them examine it. Given Mina's family know how she is, as long as their daughter's okay, they're fine with it. Afterwards, Mina was taken home. Mina's family went ahead as Izuku escorted her back home, as they began to talk about what exactly is next. As Mina then begins to hear a voice, and Izuku explained what that was. He became kind of weirded out by that, though appreciating that she's probably stronger now. Next, we see where she just jumps onto Izuku's back, stating, "Well, I just got out of the hospital, so you're gonna have to carry me." He complies as they continue walking, and she states, "So, does this mean we're dating now?" As he smirks, giggling, with Izuku saying, "Wait, what?" "I mean, I guess I'm officially a demon now, so you gotta take responsibility for that." As he then just remembers a kind of sly smirk his mom had whenever she gave him the eye, thinking, "Did she plan this?" As he just sighs, saying, "Sure, I got no problem with that." And they go off. This continues as we see that Mina training, finding out that the nergal demon powers has increased her acid's power. She's even had making it a habit to train with a sword with Izuku, learning that she could fill her weapons up with her acid and have it leak out, even to the point of slashing something with a sword that has acid over it, or, shoots out acid out of the blade and such, which is pretty cool. And with it being enhanced by the Nergal demon powers, it's pretty useful. He's even gotten used to hanging around Amari and such using the powers, having a lot of fun. Though currently she is hiding this from her family as well as her other friends, thinking it might be kind of weird to explain this. As for Zuko, he does interact with Mina's family pretty well and such, so not much problems, as Imari and Mina's younger siblings do also play a lot together. This continues until the beginning of the anime, which is where we'll be leaving this What If off at. Do hope you enjoyed. This was part 0 of What If Deku was a Nergal Demon. I do hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys later.